even evidence-based research have these studies. Like one of the study which was done in UK have observed in the last decade the age of menstruation was around 14 to 15, where the average age of menarche has gone down to around 7 to 8. The way the children have an access to internet and the way they are exposed to a lot of things which are happening around, say through movies or through social media and all this content, that is creating a range of change and trigger of emotions that is happening into them, which is having an impact on the release of these hormones, making them get early menarche. Second is also the pandemic of obesity. The WHO has the reports that 7 out of 10 adolescent kids having the risk of turning into adult obese people. And with obesity comes the risk of, in females, you have the PCOD, infertility. You also have the risk of having early diabetes, hypertension, cardiac problems, and many more. Too much of sugar, high levels of salt are there in the snacks and packaged food that the kids are eating is also one of the reason why menarche is getting early.
Is stress or a competitive environment also a reason for early periods? What are some early signs that something's off, like PCOS, irregular periods, extreme mood changes that parents or even teachers should not ignore?
How to deal with menarche, because it's again an emotional trauma for a girl who gets menses for the first time if she's completely unprepared and unaware about it.
Even I remember, like when I got my menses, I wasn't aware of it.
The 3 of the girls in my division, my class, they are married and one of them is in a maternity leave. If the egg that is created by the ovum itself is not of the best quality, you will have problems of infertility and other things in the future. Today, our health is so much that without an IVF, we cannot have a baby. Yes, the glycemic index of this is very low. So those who have family history of diabetes or are obese and vulnerable for diabetes, they will be safe.
Why are we still using code words like chums or saying she's sick? How do we create a safer, shame-free space for girls to talk about their periods? As a father yourself, what's the one thing you wish every parent knew about their daughter's health today? Okay, let's be real. We have all seen it. Teenage girls getting their periods way earlier, struggling with painful cramps, mood swings that feel out of control, and cycles that just make no sense at all. But no one's asking, why is this happening now? Is it the food, the stress, the screen time? What happened to this generation of girls? To answer these burning questions, I have brought someone extra special today. He's not just an Ayurvedic doctor, he's also a yoga master and founder of Swasti Yoga Center, bridging science and ancient wisdom in a way very few people can. Welcome to Heal Her episode number 4, where we are not just talking about women's health, we are rewriting the way we care for our bodies. Let's dive in. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Vikas Chothe, on our Heal Her series. And I welcome you here. We'll be discussing in this episode about menstrual health and adolescent well-being. So, for the Healthy Pinch audience, get ready for some powerful insights, practical tools, and heartfelt wisdom that every listener, young or adult, can benefit from.
Yes, thank you very much, Jagpreet ji, for inviting me on your platform. And definitely, I'm very excited to be here sharing whatever little experience I have, and would be very much eager to know how it helps the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's begin now. So, as you are actively working on female adolescent health these days, have you noticed a change in how their cycles are behaving today compared to, say, a decade ago?
Absolutely. This is a very important observation that you have made. And even when you talk with your, say, aunts or people of that age, you will find that they make these observations. Yeah. And even evidence-based research have these studies, like one of the study which was done in UK have observed in the last decade, the age of menstruation was around 14 to 15, where the average age of menarche has gone down to around 7 to 8. So that's a drastic change that you can see in this last 15 to 10 years that has happened. And there are multiple factors for this which are responsible. And once we understand why this is happening, then maybe we can work a little bit on these factors. Now, some of these factors are not at all in our control, but yes, there are some where we as wellness yoga practitioners can have some emphasis. We can have a discussion with the parents. We can have some kind of inputs given to the education system and the teachers, which can have a positive impact on the health. So, out of the multiple factors, one important thing is the exposure of the children to the medium of knowledge and information. So, as you can see in the last, you can say, decade, way the children have an access to internet, and the way they are exposed to a lot of things which are happening around, say through movies or through social media and all this content, that is creating a range of change and trigger of emotions that is happening into them, which is having an impact on the release of these hormones, making them get early menarche. So that's one of this. Second is also the pandemic of obesity. So it's not only that many a times it's a very difficult thing to make a mother realize that the child is not just healthy, it's obese. Okay, so many mothers don't like to see this fact about their kids. And as far as childhood obesity is concerned, it's not only about the child is looking chubby and overweight, but the WHO has the reports that 7 out of 10 adults and kids are having the risk of turning into adult obese people. And with obesity comes the risk of, in females, you have the PCOD, infertility. You also have the risk of having early diabetes, hypertension, cardiac problems, and many more. So this childhood obesity is also one of the important reason why menarche is early. It's also the sedentary kind of habits. Earlier, say 20, 30 years back, at the time of the grandparents, they were all the time outside, and their parents had to, pull their ears and bring them home. Now here is the other way around. Here, the parents have to pull their ears and take the kids on the ground. Okay. And on top of it, it's the era of abundance, So the kids have as far as nutrition is concerned, as the food and eating habits are concerned, there are a lot of temper tantrums, okay? And then parents succumb to these kind of pressures, and many a times the nutrition of the food is not much considered. Too much of sugar, too much of high levels of salt are there in the snacks and packaged food that the kids are eating is also one of the reason why menarche is getting early. So there are multiple of these factors which are playing an important role, but as we can know, some of these things definitely we can have a small influence, and if there is right kind of education given to the parents and the children, they would be motivated to make the right choices.
Wow, you mentioned a lot of things that are actually the reason for getting periods earlier these days. But a follow up question on this, is stress or a competitive environment also a reason for early periods?
Absolutely. You have also pointed out this very rightly. Um, in this age of competition, it's the comparison, it's the peer pressure that is adding a lot of stress, and mental health crisis is happening in young children, which also includes the girls, and that is something which is leading to obesity. That's something which is leading to irregular menses and menarche. So these problems are definitely associated. So the conclusions would also be the same, as we know the root cause of the problem, as we have the principle in yoga called as karma yoga. So that's a philosophy that talks about the marks or the results should not be the ultimate outcome. Why a child should be motivated to study. Okay, it should be the joy of studying that should be so high that the parents or the education system need not give them this or lure them with the kind of gifts or the success in the terms of marks that they're going to get. So this change in perspective of looking towards education, looking towards study is very vital. And I think the NEP, National Education Policy of 2020 that the Indian government has made, there are a lot of changes that have happened. Project-based learning, skill-based learning, activity-based learning are the things that will take the kids out of the classrooms into the open classrooms of nature and environment. And that's how by doing the activities, by making their hands dirty, by getting in with nature, they will understand life in a better way, which will also make them physically active. And at the same time, it would be helping them to coming out of the rote learning, which is definitely not going to be of any use. This memorization things, which happened in the few decades before, is not going to be anyways helpful in the era of Google AI and all the new tools which are coming up.
Yeah, totally agree on this. Moving on, there are some red flags in teenage cycles today. So, what are some early signs that something's off, like PCOS, irregular periods, extreme mood changes that parents or even teachers should not ignore?
Yeah, yeah. This is also very important. As you have mentioned, some of the important symptoms which can be seen in the children. As you talked about, parents should be vigilant in the era. Many times there is some kind of taboo associated with it, or parents are hesitant to talk about these things. In fact, in our country, the biggest problem is the idea of education to know more about your body, which is a part of like biology, or which is a part of, say, call it as sex education. So even the word sex education is a taboo, you
Mhm.
know. And it's not only educated people, people who are even doctors find it very uncomfortable or difficult to talk with their own kids, with their own children. So unless and until, like, sometimes we have this joke, how can India, where sex is considered to be a taboo, can be the biggest population in this world? So definitely it's not what has to be hidden, or we are the same, we can say, civilization which has given 1,000 years back the idea of Kama Sutra. Is the same civilization that has given the sculpture of Khajuraho and all. So rather than making it a taboo, it's very important that you educate, especially the adolescents, so that a lot of problems which come later, whether it is teenage pregnancy, unsafe sex, and because of that, exposure to STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and many complications, all these kind of accidents can be avoided. So that is number one, the proactive approach of the parents and the teachers. Second thing is there should be education not only to the girls, but also there should be education to the boys. And that's what in one of the initiative that we have taken since around 12 years back, we have this initiative through our organization, that is adolescent health, not only for the girls, but that of the boys is very important. And so we have created such kind of small booklets which are age based. Okay. And the idea behind that is these kind of booklets, the education of such kind of things is not what kids will go into the library and read books about it and learn more about it. So education on these topics is still not very openly talked about. So we created this pocket size book. The kids can read about it, share it with their friends, and the right way of understanding things will, in their own way, in a language which they can understand at that particular age. That kind of efforts have been taken in creating this kind of education material. That was one thing. As you were talking about the symptoms, the workshop should be conducted with the parents and the teachers, with the gynecologists and the healthcare fraternity, so that what are the complications that might happen in, say, primary school children, what are the gynecological complaints that you can observe in a secondary school girl, what are the different variations that you can observe in the menarche, how to deal with menarche, because it's again an emotional trauma for a girl who gets menses for the first time if she is completely unprepared and unaware about it.
Yeah.
So how to deal with this, all this kind of training has to be given to the school teachers and also to the parents. We cannot expect everything to happen and fall in place on its own. So this habit of us that things will happen on its own, yeah, chalta hai, ho jayega, all this kind of approach has to go away. And especially when we are in this era of AI and the information is easily accessible, I don't think it's that a big problem.
I truly agree that awareness is important, and it's important to educate the child, the parent, the teachers, because even I remember, like, when I got my menses, I wasn't aware of it. So it was like, kind of shocker to me, like, what is this, why it is happening? And multiple emotions come, and you're not actually ready to accept that thing in your life. So acceptance is the main thing that you need to do in that phase, right? Because when you accept your body, accept your physiological changes, everything will flow smoothly. Else it will cause disruptions in your body. So yeah, awareness is important, and I think we, the yoga fraternity, needs to communicate these with schools and colleges and educate the children and the parents and teachers. Okay, next, moving on. As a Ayurvedic doctor, like you have practiced for long years, I would like to know your views. What does Ayurveda say about this phase? Is it all about dosha imbalance?
True, true. Before going into this, as you had highlighted, it's a collective responsibility. And I would like to give an answer with Ayurveda and yoga and its philosophy in a collective way. See, when we talk about menstrual health, sanitation, suddenly yoga practitioners might feel that how it is related to us. So we have to understand that when we talk about Ashtanga Yoga, we have something called as yama and niyamas. So the first niyam that we have is shaucha. So
Right.
hygiene is a very important aspect. And that's what the yoga instructor should understand, that mere like kids yoga is getting very popular. People want to become kids yoga instructors. Okay. So it's very important to understand, just by taking some kind of games with the kids without even understanding what yoga you're teaching is not what is going to solve the problem. The kids yoga teachers have to study, understand the physiology, what are the challenges, physical challenges that girls face, adolescent face, and even boys face these kind of changes. Unfortunately, in a country which is so much, product driven, because there is some kind of products for the girls, you will always find that doctors and companies are very interested to go have such kind of lectures and workshops for the girls. Unfortunately, poor boys, they don't have a product, so nobody cares about their adolescent changes, their pubertal changes, and the society has to pay a price for it, and we are paying price. You have heard about so many cases that are happening, where right from the Kolkata rape case and all these things. It's where we have to be very serious about, As a society, if you make 50% of the population unaware of what the other 50% is experiencing and vice versa, the girls do not know what are the changes that are happening in the boys. The boys don't know what are the changes happening. You keep a secrecy. You take girls different, boys different. Nobody knows what is happening. And then there are speculation. I definitely can, you can recollect when the girls are taken to a particular session, there would be so much of gossip that happens. Imagine if the boys are taken to a particular session, how will be the gossip come in the girl's mind? Absolutely. So the more the secrecy you create, you are trying to trigger these kind of complications which will happen in the future. It's exactly like when a diabetic patient is said, you don't have to eat any sweets anymore. Immediately there are cravings of having the sweets. It's like the moment you say someone, let's start doing meditation, and you ask the class to close the eyes, immediately there's temptation to open one eye and check what others are doing. Yeah. So this human mind has to be understood, and who best can understand other than yoga practitioners? So yoga practitioners also should take an important responsibility, as you have said, going to the schools and colleges. Okay. Because we cannot limit our role in the society just as yoga instructors, taking yoga classes, earning money, being in our cozy yoga studios on the mat. It's
Right.
important that we roll our sleeves, go into the society and start solving real life problems. When we were just having a program in a school which is within 500 meters of the municipal corporation, in the government aided school, when we went, the class teacher in 6th standard said that three of the girls in my division, my class, they are married and one of them is in a maternity leave in a 6th standard. What is the age of kids when you are in 6th standard?
11, 12, I guess.
12. Yeah. So that's how we have to understand, even today, these are the real problems.
Hmm.
And if we are able to do something for them, then there would be a real change in the society. So in this kind of environment, there are the problems that you see today in the society, the roots are, in our education system, in our parenting, in our, in the environment as a society, where a lot of kind of pressure is there on how the ethical code of conduct should be for the girls, for their behavior. But what kind of the code of conduct for the boys? When we talk about equality, when we call mothers or girls as Durga and Shakti, what about the uncontrolled power about to the other half? So this kind of inequality is something that's not very good. And I think education would be a perfect tool with which a lot of work can be done. Ayurveda has compared this with nature. As you see, now we will have monsoon.
Mhm.
So the kind of changes that happen in the environment, and when the farmers will be sowing the seed will come outside. Okay, so that's how the cycle of nature is being compared with the cycle which happens inside the women's health. women's reproductive system. So, as you see, the cycle of the seasons, in the same way, the cycle is happening inside the reproductive system. And so, to have a good crop, what are the factors that are important? You need water, you need fertile soil, you need right kind of climate. Okay, and most importantly, the seed that you're sowing should be of good quality. The same is the perspective of Ayurveda. If the egg that is created by the ovum itself is not of the best quality, you will have problems of infertility and other things in the future. That's exactly in today's world, it's termed as the diagnosis PCOD, means polycystic ovarian syndrome. The ovaries are in a rush and a hurry to create the egg, but none of them is creating a good quality egg. That's what we call it as genetically modified seeds. Yeah, normally, like if you have a seed, you sow it, you will get a crop. But with this GM modified, you cannot have the crop because the seed from the crop can be used only one time, and that's the way how you can control the business. Every time the farmer has to come to buy the seed and to make it a commercially viable product, it is important that the seed does not give rise to another generation. And that's something that we have done with our dietary habits and everything. That today our health is so much that without an IVF, we cannot have a baby. Whereas if you see the same thing 50, 100 years back, no such technology, and at the same time, when the health infrastructure was so poor, medicines were so less, people were capable of having a dozen of babies. Today, forget about a dozen. Even one is more than cracking an IIT or Harvard entrance. Yeah. So we have to introspect what are the changes or the mistakes that have gone wrong. We were talking about the adolescent health of the boys also. The more you are going to suppress them, their hormones are going to go on a toss. Yeah. And that is going to make them go very wild, which is against Hinsa. It's completely against Ahimsa. All that Hinsa will come out in a very wrong way.
Right.
So, yeah, the boys should completely be knowing what is happening, the physiology in the girls, so that they are more caring and compassionate. Even today, we have a system where when people get married, they don't know how babies are born. They still have the concept their grandparents told the babies, one fine day the fairy comes and give the baby besides. And that's what the couple is waiting for, that our baby is not coming. So when they come to us as doctors, we have to explain that that was a different.
Right.
That was a fairy tale. You have to understand how our body works, So that is how the society even today is ignorant in the world of AI and Google search. Again, with this exposure, there's a risk that sometimes, especially, we have to understand as a society that there's a difference between pornography and sex education.
True.
Okay. And this has to be talked about because we just cannot hide things. Okay. So anyways, the child is going to be exposed with some kind of friends who are elder to him or his siblings or something like that. So why not? It's better that doctors or some kind of committee or some kind of system is there in the society that takes care for educating the kids of different age group according to the needs, so that they are already informed of the choices that they have in front of them. Like even when we have so many international students, they tell us that we were being taught in school. The girls are also taught in schools. In fact, the girls are given education. Like here in India, the girls are taught how to use sanitary pads. There in Europe, it's mandatory for all the girls to know how to use a condom.
Okay.
For males. And they have dummy demonstrations where every girl comes in front and practices how to use it. So that's how the girls know, how to practice safe practices. And same is vice versa. Yeah, how to protect. Yeah, that's how. It is important. And just being shy is not a solution.
Yes.
And again, the important thing is the questions will arise, how can a yoga instructor and teachers talk about and do these things? Because the perception is, what Shiva and Shakti are doing is considered to be a taboo. Then we really have to introspect and understand where are we as a society.
That's true.
Yeah. So interesting.
Well, a lot of shocking insights that you've given, and I feel there's a lot to work in this direction. And as like recently, it's been seen that even in the schools, they are introducing yoga as a subject. So I think that will also help, like all the males and females to understand their physiology and to understand that what is actually important, because it's not only like you are active or playing sports, but yoga is totally at a different level. It works on your mind, your soul. So, based on this only, I would like to ask you, is it safe for young girls to practice yoga for their periods? And what kind of yoga or breathing practices can actually calm the chaotic mind?
The mental health is not only important in the corporates or for adults, but it is a matter of concern even in adolescent and school going children. Now, one of the study done says that almost 7 out of 10 children in school are suffering from some or the other form of mental health disorder or anxiety, some kind of issues. There are researches that have been talked about in US in the last 10 years. When the social media has begun, there's consistent increase in suicidal rates as far as school going children is concerned. So we as parents and yoga and practitioners, when we say we are introducing yoga, the idea of yoga is to understand your true self. And unless and until people understand that they are not this body, so whether I'm fair, I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, or I'm the ugliest person in the class, it is not going to make any difference, because I'm more than that. I'm the energy, I'm the soul. So if every person in the class, including the teacher, feels this, then the approach they have amongst each other will be of love and respect, irrespective of whatever their physical traits are. Someone might be black, white, tall, fat, slim. So that body shaming which is happening in the name of the peer pressure that is influencing the kids definitely will have a lesser impact. Okay, with these ideas of yoga coming into, when kids with the peer pressure just follow what everyone is doing. Everybody is being an engineer, I would become an engineer. Irrespective, I love to cook, I want to get into hotel. Say, for example, like to dance, I want to become a dancer. So, we are not able to listen to our inner calling.
True.
And this is not possible unless until there is chaos
Hmm.
outside, which is reflected inside. So meditation should not be just considered like a ritual where everybody is forced to do something. Unless and until we make the children understand the science and the benefits of this and give them the confidence of doing things that make them come out of their comfort zone and still be okay with whatever the outcomes are. That's what the principal idea of karma yoga is. It's okay to fail, it's okay to be succeed, to have success, and even when you have success you still have to be grounded, and even when you fail you still can be confident and celebrate your failure. That's what can lead to having another Silicon Valley in other parts of the world. Yeah.
Wow,
So
so
these are
beautifully
aspects
explained.
that we as yoga practitioners can contribute. And mental health, yes, chitta vritti nirod, that's what yoga is all about. So absolutely it's important, but it cannot go ahead just by celebrating a day as yoga day or just making it as another exercise routine. Yoga has to break its boundaries beyond the mat. Kids have to be taught how to connect with nature. That's why we have a tree pose, a mountain pose, and a tortoise pose. And if you kill all the animals, there are no trees in the concrete jungles. What are you going to teach the tree pose?
Right.
Teaching yoga is going back to your roots, your basics.
Rightly said. So, moving on to next. We mostly live in the era of instant noodles, soda, processed snacks. So, what's your real talk on what teenage girls should be eating, especially around their cycle?
Right, right. So, diet is an important part, and now many people are getting very conscious about it. According to Ayurveda, they say whatever is associated with the ground, whatever is very seasonal, is something which is good for your body. And so, one thing is, even when you think about fruits, there is this kind of a fashion that the fruit which is very exotic and very costly is something that is good for you. So our people are running behind avocados and kiwis. It's not necessary that that is only going to be, though it will be healthy and helpful for, say, people in Latin America. It's not necessary it would be here. So we have to go for our own local ones like chiku, sapota is there, or we have sitafal, the custard apple is there. So all these kind of local things, seasonal things. In the summers we get the mangoes, watermelon. So all the local things is something which I would definitely encourage the children, the adolescents to go for, because they also are influencing the buying decision in the family. So when your preferences are there, you are asking your mother to buy some fruits and vegetables. So this kind of knowledge will help them to make the right kind of recommendations and suggestions. In the same line, you will also understand that there is this climate change which is happening. And along with climate change, the health benefits of millets are amazing. And that's why in 2023, it is the United Nations that supported and celebrated International Year of Millets.
Oh.
Now, to just take an example, there are immense benefits of millets. And today you will find that the cost of millets, mostly like jawar, bajra, has even skyrocketed so much that they are costlier than rice, wheat, with the best ones. Yeah. But earlier, it was like considered to be the food of the poor. But I still remember when one of the guests from Barcelona had come and she was into the foxtail millets. Then my mother, like out of excitement, she said, "Oh, this is something that," she was trying to cook something from it. And my mother was like, "Oh, this is something that we feed to the pigeons." Okay. So that's how we see millets, as like, forget about poor people, but it's something for the animals and the birds. Yeah. So
Right.
now the perspective is changing with the kind of awareness about the health benefits. And especially when I was talking about childhood obesity. So even if like twice in a week instead of chapati, like the wheat, you replace it with the jawar or bajra, it's going to be adding a great benefits, because one is the glycemic index of this is very low. So those who have family history of diabetes or are obese and vulnerable for diabetes, they will be saved. Second thing is it helps to lower down the cholesterol levels. So it has cardioprotective active action also. Another thing is it helps to improve the strength of the joints and the ligaments. So in the future, when during pregnancy and all, the joint pain and other problems will come up, if adolescents are having this habit of having millets in their diet, is going to be very helpful. When we had the G20 being held in India, it was for all the head of the states. The whole dinner was prepared and curated by the five-star chefs, and all of the menu was aligned with millets. So that's how it can be tasty, it can be healthy. The only thing is that now we have to take some small initiatives. And that's where Swasti, many a times, like in the last couple of years back, Swami Vivekanand Jayanti was celebrated, because that was the International Year of Millets 2023. It
Right.
was celebrated by having a millet cooking contest. So in this way, if we can have cooking contests in schools and colleges, so it can be a nice way in which the kids can learn new and creative ways of integrating millets in the diet. Another thing is children should be encouraged to have a kitchen garden. So when they cultivate their own fruit and vegetable, they understand, and there's a kind of bonding and affection that the connect is developed with nature. And then definitely it will have an impact on food wastage. There are some kids who just don't like the food cooked at home and all. So when the food gets wasted, but this will not happen if the same tomatoes are grown by the child in his own garden. Then the kind of with the sweat that has gone in, definitely the child won't be so careless to throw the tomatoes, and the dishes, out. So that's how, if the child invests in growing their own plants and vegetables, then it will have a positive impact on understanding the nutritional value and also improve the quality of diet. Like you, there are many people who have this challenge of reading the labels, understanding the content, knowing about the preservatives which are added. So this campaign, which is happening across the country in different schools, will have a positive impact as far as the nutritional health of children is concerned.
Really great insights. Today, in this era, we definitely need to know about the right nutrition. And as you said about millets, definitely we can cook like fancy items from millets. But it's all over the internet. On Instagram, if you go, there are some ragi pancakes and ragi chocolate cake, and there's so many other healthier items that can be cooked. So definitely one should learn and make others also aware about this millets and introduce in their diet slowly and gradually. Okay, next, moving on to menstruation shame and taboo. Why is it still there? Like, why are we still using code words like chumps or saying she's sick? How do we create a safer, shame free space for girls to talk about their periods?
Yeah, this is very, very important. And whenever we talk about a progressive society in multiple parameters, one of the parameters is this. A society does not respect the women, a society which is not caring about it is definitely not a good society and has to introspect a lot. And that is the reason in our culture it's always been the women is always associated with power and strength. Is she is she is called as Durga. That's from the word Durga. The forts in India, they're called Durga. It's because they are strong. So the fort itself got the meaning from Durga. It means power. And in this context, when thousands of years we have been associating femininity with strength, suddenly we are being whitewashed, or I don't know, whitewashed or say pink washed with the female activism of women empowerment.
Yeah.
And that's again a kind of a, we can call it as a colonial mindset where just because there is some problem in some part of the world, there's this idea that this problem exists in every part of the world. So we were definitely not a society which had this kind of outlook where even today, when we talk about Shakti Peeth, okay, Shakti Peeth are those particular places where we believe that these are the places where they are the power centers where the remains of Sati have been placed. So in that context, if you see in Assam, there is a Kamakhya temple,
Yeah.
which is very so famous that even like our prime minister and many people visit there. So if you try to understand what is like Kamakhya temple all about in Assam, what is Kamakhya? It's nothing but where the vagina is being celebrated as the deity.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to be so open is because even calling this word is a kind of a taboo.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
And we are talking about the same society where we have a temple. It's one of the biggest and worshipped sacred temple where the female organ is respected by both genders.
Right.
And in the same society, as a doctor, I get women who come and say, I have to go to a temple. Please give me medicine so that I can prepone, postpone my menses.
Oh.
So we have this extremism in our society. We can call it as a paradox. A society that worships menstruation, female reproductive organs, and it is historically since thousands of years been there. In the same society, you have same women who do not respect themselves and have to play with their own reproductive cycles and health by just taking medicines which are not made for these things. So that's where it's very important as doctors, as society, as yoga instructors, we have to truly make people understand what is hygiene, what is shaucha. If the menses would have been a wrong thing, a bad thing, the world would have collapsed. There wouldn't have been a baby without mothers. There are so many societies even today when there is menarche, it is celebrated as a festival for the girl in different religions and different parts of the world. So it's very important that we revive these traditions and we celebrate this as an important part of life. And unless and until we have this positive approach and outlook towards, say, menstruation or towards health, and it's not only female health, but it's also health of every gender. So the taboos have to be broken. And I think the source of information is very important. As I talked about, doctors should play a proactive role in this context. If people from the audience or anyone who wants to join with our movement of health education for both the boys and girls, they all are welcome. And we also have these booklets that I've shown for both boys and girls of different age group for higher secondary schools and junior college. And we are on a mission to spread it free of cost. So they are on digital platforms also. So today with WhatsApp and so many things, people can just send these PDF files to the parents or to the children, and it would be a small gift on the birthdays in which kids can be educated about the new role in which they are entering into. So, as a society, it's important that education is going to be the only tool with which there could be opening of the mind and there could be this kind of love, compassion, respect for each gender, for each other.
Very beautifully explained, and a very positive outlook on the menstrual health, and great initiative that you are, as Swasti Yoga founder, taking for the adolescent health. I'm sure this movement will help a lot, and we, all the yoga practitioners, have joined this movement. It will create a very good impact. So, all the best for the great initiative. Lastly, I would like to ask a question. As a father yourself, what's the one thing you wish every parent knew about their daughter's health today?
Yeah. We would definitely would promote our own booklets. So the only thing is, as a doctor, though I know something, if I'm not very much comfortable, I would definitely have my friend like you, who can, help my daughter understand more about life when she is growing and she is going through this kind of transformation. If I myself am not comfortable, maybe I can take the help of necessary concerned person. But taking the help and doing it is very important. We cannot just keep it, we cannot depend on the destiny that someday things will happen. And the result would be the same. Like there are some couples who feel that still a fairy comes and gives the baby besides the so that kind of fantasy world we cannot live in. We have to be realistic, okay? And I would encourage every father to be the friend, and all the taboos that we have in our mind are no longer going to be existing in the world of the next century, because we are living in an AI world and humanoids. So in a few decades back, there used to be like, oh, you should marry someone in the same religion. Then it became, earlier it was like very, very small. It should be in the same caste. Then it was like same religion, then at least same nationality. Okay. Now it's like, okay, at least it should be of the different gender. And then it's like we are in an era where, we are moving. So you never know like what kind of future would be there. So maybe people of our generation would at least say that at least your partner, if it is a human, we would be happy. so, so that is how things are changing so much that all the old concepts and the myths that we had are breaking very fast, and we have to be in pace with our kids. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for both the generations to be together.
That's a really great advice, and it was lovely to have your insights on these topics. Thank you so much, Dr. Vikas, for joining us today and sharing such valuable knowledge with us. Your clarity, compassion, and deep understanding of each and every topic have truly enlightened us. And it was a pleasure having you on this on our channel, and I'm sure our listeners will walk away with a renewed sense of awareness and empowerment. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jagpreet ji, and really wonderful to be here along with all your listeners. And definitely, I'm so happy for all your listeners that you're taking these sincere efforts for like going out, reaching out to people from different walks of life, bringing them on your podcast, and honestly trying to contribute for the betterment of the society through health, through wellness, through yoga. And we wish you best wishes to all the listeners of our channel. Namaste and Dhanyavad.
Namaste. Thank you so much. If you're still listening, I know this episode hit home. And if you are a parent, teacher, or just someone who cares about the future of young girls, let this be a wake up call. It's not just hormones or growing up, it's real, it's happening fast, and we can't afford to ignore it anymore. Start with awareness, add yoga and movement, clean up the diet, and most importantly, create a safe space for our girls to talk. If this episode taught you something new, or if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Healthy Pinch channel, tag a parent who needs this, and comment your biggest learning. And check out the links shared in the description below. Also, check our other episodes of Heal Her, a Healthy Pinch series. You will definitely find them very informative and useful. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, let's heal her together. Stay healthy, stay happy.